Before we get into today's video, I do just want to tell you about all the brand new Theme Park Jack merchandise over on the brand new Teespring shop that I've set up. We have some great stuff available on there, so please do go and check it out. Link is in the description. We have loads of stuff on there and a few different designs as well, so please go and have a look. Okay, so hello there everyone and welcome back to another video here on the Theme Park Jack YouTube channel. Today, in celebration of 250 subscribers, I'm going to be doing a question and answer session. I've picked out 10 of your questions and I'm going to be answering them here on the channel today. Now, for those of you whose questions I didn't feature on here, I did answer your question directly, and I am regularly hosting Q&A sessions over on my Instagram, where you can join in there and I will answer your question on my Instagram story. But yeah, here we go. Thanks again for 250 subscribers. Let's get into the video. Okay, so my first question is my favourite Alton Towers roller coaster, and I would actually say that is Oblivion. Now, I've kept changing my mind on this. I can't seem to make my mind up on which Alton Towers coaster I like best because they've got that many great rides there. But the reason I like Oblivion is that it's rare for me that I actually get scared in a roller coaster, and it builds up that anticipation, and Oblivion still does it for me. It's one of the only rides that does, and I love it. You go on a theme park ride, because you want to have that rush, that thrill, and the anticipation for it. And believe you me, Oblivion still does that for me. When you're just going up that lift hill and you're going round there, ready to go into the world's first vertical drop roller coaster, it is just brilliant. And it still does scare you today when you hung over that drop. And I find the drop on Oblivion more scary than the drop on the big one. It's just because of that rush that it gives you when it holds you over there, and just kind of the whole anticipation of it. I just think it's a great ride, and yeah, I really do enjoy it, and that's why I like it so much. It doesn't have the best stats, it's not the longest ride, but just for that feeling that it still gives you, and it still manages to scare you. Now, my next question is, do you think that the London resort will happen? Now, thank you so much for sending in this question, because I'd completely forgotten about the London resort, because not many people talk about it, because not many people really think that it's actually going to go ahead. So I've been doing some digging and some research on the London resort, and actually quite recently they've released these brand new plans showing that there's quite a few new themed areas, and apparently 70% of the rides are going to be indoors. So yeah, it kind of seems that the project might be given a new lease of life because of this, and that they actually might be wanting to go ahead of this. Now, actually, I thought it was like some theme park companies that were involved in this, but it turns out that the main person behind this is actually a Kuwaiti business tycoon. So yeah, I really didn't know that about it, but yeah, I've been looking into it a bit, and it does seem like there is a lot more of a chance now that this could actually go ahead. Paramount's back on board with it now, the BBC's on board, ITV is too, and they have just recently released these plans. So I do think there is a good chance that it could happen, and I am actually going to make a YouTube video on this in the upcoming weeks. So I do think it's an interesting topic to talk about. Okay, next question. What is my favourite and least favourite type of ride on the fun fair? Now, that's quite an interesting one, to be honest, because there are quite a few good rides on the fairs, but there are a lot of bad ones as well. Now, some of the flat rides on the fair for me are just too much. They're sickening, some of them. They're that intense. I mean, how anyone can stomach some of those rides, I don't know. Just for, how much it spins you around and how much it throws you upside down. Some of them are just crazy that they aren't really enjoyable for me. However, an exception to them is the KMG Afterburners and KMG Freakout rides. These are rides like the Eagle's Claw, and this one I'm showing you a POV of here. Now, this one isn't actually made by KMG, it's a knockoff one. However, I didn't really mind it, to be honest. I thought it still provided a really good thrill. It was a bit more jolty than your average KMG is. However, it was still a really good ride, and it was far better than the norm for what rides are usually like on the fair, in my opinion. So yeah, these type of rides are usually some of my favourite ones. However, my least favourite ones are fairground ghost trains. They are absolutely woeful, and I mean, how they even have the cheek to operate these, some of them, I honestly don't know, because they're embarrassingly bad. They're not ones you could just pass off for being a bit tacky or whatever. They are just bad, really bad. I mean, this one I went on at this fair at Blackpool Comes to Oldham, I mean, it was that bad. They had like all these dirty towels hanging down and stuff. And yeah, it was so grubby. I mean, if you watch that vlog back, you'll see what I thought of that. It was disgusting and it was absolutely filthy. But in terms of the theming as well, yeah, it wasn't great at all. They had practically none, and it was just a couple of paintings on the walls in there and a couple of siren sounds that went off. So yeah, it was absolutely terrible. It was really disappointing, that. But what do you expect when you go to a fair and go on a fairground ghost train? I wouldn't say yet that I've actually been on a good fair ghost train, so that's why for me it takes a cake as being the worst type of ride on the fair. Okay, so my next question is, what is the most unique type of ride you've been on? And for me, that is the Hush Giant Condor rides. I mean, you rarely see any of them around anymore. The last one actually to be installed that I know about was actually when Cedar Fair revived one from Europe the other year, and they put it in at one of their parks. I think it might have been Worlds of Fun in Kansas City that they brought it to. But yeah, these things are rarely seen nowadays. There's a few over in the continent, and now there are none, unfortunately, left in the UK. Now, this is the one I rode last year at M&D's in Scotland, but unfortunately, as you all know, that park did really sadly close down recently. So the future of this ride is now unknown. It is up for sale on Interlink, which is a used rides page, and yeah, it's not been sold so far from what it seems. It's still on there. So yeah, so what luck they'll have in selling this, I really don't know. It wasn't the most reliable of rides when I was there. It broke down a couple of times on both days last year when I visited, because I visited once in August, and I was up that way in September for doing something else, so we just popped in for an hour and went on a few rides then, and it was shut then too. So yeah, the reliability of the ride isn't great. It's constantly breaking down and reopening, so I'm honestly very unsure if this ride will be relocated or reopened, and I very much doubt it. So I suppose that makes it the most unique ride I've been on. This type of flat ride is really dying a death now. In the early 2000s, they were being installed all over, and but yeah, not anymore. They just seem to have vanished off the face of the earth, most of them. Now, I posted a POV of this and answered this question a few weeks ago, actually, after I've got the question, because I just thought it would be the perfect time just to share this POV of the Wild Mouse at Funland in Weston-super-Mare, because this is such a good ride for the views it gives. Now, the ride itself is just kind of your average coaster. It's a Wildcat kind of coaster. It's made by the SBF Visa Group. The restraints on it are really weird. They're like those like comfort collar style of restraints, yeah. And they kind of go over you, and then they plug in next to where your safety bar is. I mean, it is really overkill, the restraints on this, but the ride itself was all right. It was quite smooth and stuff, but yeah. The best views, honestly, that this ride gives are brilliant. I mean, just look at that now. All the views over the beach, all over Weston-super-Mare as well. It's a lovely little place, Weston was, when we visited there. We're on our way down south to visit more theme parks, and we just stopped off there for a few hours. But yeah, the views it gives, I mean, just look at that. You never see that on any other ride, really. The only other park in the world where I've seen good views at, and that's just on video, I've never actually been there, is at Ocean Park in Hong Kong. I mean, that looks incredible, the views out there over towards the sea. But yeah, as far as in the UK goes, that certainly seems the best, and the best that I've been on anyway. Hey, my next question is, what is my favourite B&M roller coaster that I've been on? Now, Bolliger and Mabillard, they are a brilliant roller coaster company. They've made some of the best rides in the world, and they're renowned for making safe and reliable rides, and rides that are smooth and really intense as well. Now, Oblivion, which I talked about earlier in the video, that is a Bolliger and Mabillard roller coaster. However, my favourite B&M is the wonderful Phoenix at Toverland. This thing opened in 2018, and other than for a little bit of a rattle in a few areas, it is very smooth on the whole. The views it gives are brilliant, and yeah, just the forces of it. And now, usually wing coasters are renowned for being forceless and a bit bland and boring, but this certainly wasn't. It really packed a punch, and yeah, it did give some really good airtime, as you can see there as well, and it really did fit into the themed area of Avalon really well. That and Merlin's Quest interact together really well and complement each other really well, and especially if you sat on this side as well, you know, you feel like your legs are about to be chopped off, you know, and all sorts. It's really good. It's got a few inversions on there, lots of twists and turns, great airtime, and it's just an all-round really good roller coaster. It is quite a short ride, however, it don't feel too short. So yeah, that's why it's my favourite B&M, and the theming's great too. Now I think that the best family flat ride are Zamperla Discos. They're such a great type of ride from a manufacturer that has made some mediocre stuff in the past. But you can't fault Zamperla for their family rides, as they are really good, and Zamperla Discos have taken off worldwide. Now I actually prefer the standard disco rides over the disco coasters, as I do think the hill in the middle of it kills it off a bit in the disco coasters, whereas these get a really good momentum going and some great speed and spin as well. The position you're sat in like you're riding a motorbike, sorry, is really unique. And yeah, you just get some great forces on it as well. And for a family ride, it's really exciting. You know, Zamperla coming up with a ride like this is really good because, you know, it is a really cool design that they've come up with. And yeah, just everything about these is so good. And that's why they've been installed all over the place. I mean, if you think about it, in the UK, we've got loads of them. You know, West Midlands Safari Park has one. This is the one at Gulliver's World in Warrington called the Pirates Cove. This is a slightly smaller one, but I mean, for families, it's a great ride, and that's what the question was today for this question. But yeah, really good rides, really good speed to them, but they're not too big at the same time to be too thrilling. They're just right, and they are a really good family ride that everyone could go on and enjoy. I just hate it when they have the extra seat belts on them because they're overkill, and yeah, they're really uncomfortable, but most of them just have the standard backrest, and that's absolutely plenty. And when it's them like that, then they are really good rides. The Avatar Airbender is another example of a really good one at the Pleasure Beach too, and there are some really good ones abroad as well and in the States too. So chances are you've been on one of these rides before if you've been to any more than a few theme parks. Now I have already been asked this question before. Well, I've not really been asked it, but I've answered it in a video before. If you remember back to when I talked about what roller coaster should go to every UK theme park next. But I've been asked it again, and since that was such a popular video, I thought I'd talk about it again. I think that the next roller coaster the Pleasure Beach should get is a Mack Big Dipper. Since the Thompson and Mack families have such a good family relationship, it seems like the perfect choice for them to work with them again. And I think a Mack Dipper, hopefully breaking some new records and with a cool layout, would be a great addition to the park. And I'd knock down the Bowlerdrome and build it there. Okay, last but certainly not least, what is my favourite wooden coaster? And that is Troy at Toverland. It's actually my second favourite roller coaster in the world after Taron. It is just such a brilliant ride. I mean, it's just bloody crazy, isn't it? From the start of the ride to the end of it, you're being chucked around everywhere. The airtime you get on it is great, but at the same time, it isn't too rough either. It's a real bone shaker of a ride. It's a great woodie. Opened back in 2007. It's made by GCI. And yeah, everything about this ride is perfect. It is such a good machine. And yeah, it just stands there so big on it at Toverland. I mean, you know, it's such a flat part Toverland is. Well, I mean, the whole of the Netherlands is. You know, it just stands up there so tall, and the elements on it are really funky and weird, and you know, not the normal elements that you'd see on a wooden coaster. And yeah, it is just fantastic. It is my second favourite coaster in the world. There's nothing that it really does wrong, to be honest. The theming on it's quite good now, it's been updated. It's got a great soundtrack as well, and really good operations too. So yeah, I've not really got any criticism for this at all. As soon as you drive into Toverland, it's the first thing you see, and you're just blown away by it. Yeah, amazing ride, and yeah, it's just faultless in my opinion. Okay, well then, thank you very much for watching today's video. I hope you did enjoy it, and yeah, I hope I did answer your question. I picked out which questions I thought were the best there, just to try and make an entertaining video for you guys. Thanks again for 250 subscribers. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm going to be uploading more regularly now. I've got some great ideas in the pipeline. And please check out the Theme Park Jack shop. We've got some great new merchandise in there and some designs that I think you'll really like. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next video, which will be coming very soon. Goodbye.